I will begin the class now. So today we are going to look at something interesting. We're going to talk about prompt engineering for MVP, minimum viable product. How do you build this? I remember last year towards the ending, I shared with you guys a list of projects, which I told you guys to pick one that you really want to build upon. So it's a continuation of that. But before you start building, it's good we talk about how and what you should be able to do in order for you to make this uh, project comes to realization, and also for you to be able to launch this project if you are at all going to get people to come and invest in your idea. Now, the first thing when we talk about prompt engineering, we are talking about communicating with the computer in the right way or communicating with the AI in the right way. Now, you will agree with me since 2022, when ChatGPT and other LLM models rised up, there had been a lot of noise in in fact, the whole world. Everybody talks about them and everybody's kind of interacting with them. Very few people that we said they have not yet interacted with some of these chatbot. But what makes them unique is the fact that they could relate with you, almost in such a way that they give you reply that is so confident and it can make you to believe that what they are telling you is true, but it's not always true because some of these models they hallucinate a lot. And also, if you don't communicate with clarity, it will not be able to understand what you are trying to say. But because the model has been trained in such a way that it has to give you reply, so even when you put vague a response to prompt the chatbot, it will certainly give you something. But at the end of the day, you cannot be able to make use of it because your word does not carry clarity. And that means the AI will just give you vague answers. So, like I always used to tell you, the AI is built on this principle of garbage in, garbage out. So it's everything you give it, it gives you back. So it means you have to find the right way for you to be able to communicate with these systems in order for you to maximize them and also to be able to get results. And trust me, from the time this ChatGPT came up and all these LLM models, we have seen a lot of people's life being transformed. A lot of people became solo entrepreneurs. They started building their businesses, their startups, and now we're seeing a lot of changes that people are doing in their lives, and all is because they are making use of this AI. But if you don't know how to communicate with this AI, you cannot be able to use it effectively. So if you have this one big idea that you want to turn to life, the first thing you need to do is to build a prototype. When you build this prototype, the next phase will be for you to validate this product. When you validate it and you be able to take care of all the risks and everything that comes with it, you'll be able to confidently approach someone and say, look, I have this product and I want you to invest because I know this product is going to sell. So in this class, we're going to focus on how we can translate these ideas into prompt-driven systems, and then how we can be able to build at least two functional MVPs from those project ideas that I gave to you last time. Maybe we won't be able to pick two, probably one, but we'll see how it goes. But it is in my proud objective to make sure you build one that you can be able to say you do this. Then we're going to, at the end of the day, evaluate what we have done and also iterate because this is a continuous thing. Most time, the first product is not always the goal. You have to come back and iterate and keep going until you get something good out. Now, why this prompt engineering matters a lot, because if you don't be able to communicate concisely to this system, you won't be able to build something that you yourself will be able to sell to someone. You can't be able to sell what you don't understand. So the prompts are the interface between the idea and the capabilities. Now, the MVP fails not because of the model, the LLMs themselves, but because of poor task framing, no evaluation loops, and no user context. That's why I told you guys last time, I said, you have to share a one-page idea from that that project idea I gave you guys. I want you to share one page of the overview of what you want to do. And then because if you don't understand what you want to sell, you can't even get buyers to come and invest in it. So most of the time, the AI doesn't have problem, but it does have problem with the way you are communicating with it. So if you don't communicate with clarity, the AI will not understand. So prompt engineering is product design and not prompt writing. So it's all about you trying to design. It's all about you trying to craft your word in such a way that your words will be able to give the computer the direction on how and what it should be able to give to you back. So what this means is that we're not just looking at trying to get a polished app or a full data set or a perfect accuracy model, but we're trying to get first one core job needs to be done. It means you pick out of the tasks you have, you pick a very tedious task or something, and then you try to work on it, and then you will now be able to build up something. So you can't automate the system at all, once and for all. Just pick a part out of the system that is a headache to people, solve that part, and then you see how it goes. So you may have this one big idea, but you need to execute them in chunk. Okay, so one job at a time, one repeatable workflow. What is it that people get to do every time, and it takes a lot of their time. You can pick that, automate it, and then the person don't have to keep doing it repeatedly. Then one clear success metrics. You need to define what it means to be successful. When you have, you need to see, like, get to that point where you see something, you say, yes, this is success. For example, if you are a postgraduate student, your success matrix is to graduate, maybe with a first class or with a good degree. But that's when you grab it, you know that, yes, this is what it means for me to be successful. Then for somebody who is a businessman, his own success matrix is to make a profit. So if he buys something probably in $5 a pound, his end goal is to see that he gets maybe £10 or $5 after selling it. So that shows he made a profit. So profit or success it vary for each and every one. Maybe for somebody that is a YouTuber, your own success matrix is when you get subscribers to your channel. So again, it depends on what you put as the success matrix you want, but you have to have it in mind. So when you see it, you will know it. So if the prompt works, the products will exist. So when you are able to get it right, it means you can be able to also build the product at the end of the day. Now, there are 4 layers of prompt stacks or core framework in order for you to achieve these MVPs without stress. Because every MVP prompt has these 4 layers. The first one is role. Who is the model? So what are you trying to do? Are you trying to build something in area of business? And even if it's a business, what kind of business do you want to solve a problem under? Is it has to do with marketing? Is it banking and finance? Does it has to do with export and import? Does it has to do with the normal buying and selling? Does it has to do with connecting, let's say, farmers in the rural area to buyers in the urban areas? So you have to know who is you are making this model for. That's why I said one of the problem a lot of people have in Africa is when you talk with them, they will tell you how their problem is money. When they get the money, they know what to do with it. But you'll be surprised that 90 to 95% of those people, when you give them the money, they don't actually know what to do with it. They never have this idea that they have perfectly go to the field, collect data, know that this problem exists, that such that when they create the solution, they will have people to patronize it. For me, growing up as well, I remember we'll be talking about how, we need, when we get money, we are going to do this, we're going to do this, we're good. But later on, I discovered that that's really a crude way of thinking. The first thing is for you to really look at if there is a need for your product. Because if there is no need for your product, you will just waste your money. And if you do what everybody is doing because you see everybody doing it, you will still waste your money. So you need to define who your solution is meant for. For example, during my undergraduate, and I think one of my classmates is also part of this class, he will testify, our 300 level, then I used to teach people. And then I noticed I couldn't be able to teach everybody. And there were so many people that would come. So sometimes a whole day, I end up teaching maybe 5 people and I'm exhausted. And then everybody's problem vary. So I thought to myself, I said, this is not a right way. And each time I want to teach in a larger crowd, we either get the classes already booked, so we won't be able to get the space to use, or something comes up, some sort of distraction and all that. So then one day I thought of, it's better I get a whiteboard and make my own room, my own house, the classroom. So I turned my house to the classroom. I got a whiteboard, set it up and everything. And then people now comes to my home and then I teach them in groups. So that eliminated the problem that I have to keep teaching one person each time, which it could be exhausting for both me and the people that I have to teach. Because imagine maybe we need to learn this thing before exams, we need to practice this thing. That's kind of stuff like that. So, but when I created this, I discovered that a lot of people wanted it. So and the next thing I did was, okay, they have to pay. So I now start charging them. I think then I was collecting, if I'm not mistaken, Nandi, I think I was collecting 1,005 or so for a section, or 2,000, I can't remember again. So they were paying. Some people didn't pay all in full, but they were paid. And if I'm not mistaken, Friday also they come to my place, and then we all, we spend sometimes 2-3 hours. But we keep doing that, and a lot of people started seeing lots of results, because they go to exam halls. Some of the things we practice comes up. They passed that exams with good scores, grades, and all that. So that keep making a lot of my colleagues to be coming, and that eliminated that fact that I have to keep looping over to teach one person. That was taken care of. So you have to be very, very careful when you are designing an MVP. Don't just build because you want to build. Build something that is a pain in the lives of people, that they can pay for it in order for them to get that problem off their neck. Because it's not everybody that wants to do the thinking. So if you can sit down, do the thinking, and you can solve the problem, then get it off their neck and they can pay you for it. So know the role that you want to give to the LLM to do. You can tell it, I want you to act as a senior consultant in this area. Do this for me. Give it a role. Give the model a role. Don't leave the model to think and do these things out of the blue for you. Task. What must it do exactly? So what exactly do you want this product of yours to do? You have to be very specific, because the real world, like we say, model is a simplification of reality. meaning that you are not trying to solve every complexity that exists in the real world, but rather you want to pick a particular niche and a particular area, and then you automate it. Once you solve that, for example, as a data scientist, I could tell you that one of the major things that is a pain in the neck of most data scientists is EDA, exploratory data analysis, and data cleaning. These are the areas that you spend a lot of time trying to understand the data, not even in the collection of the data, because the moment you meet with the stakeholders, with the people that have a problem, most of the time you will likely see they already have the hypothesis, the research questions they want, and with that, you can be able to build up the data collection pipeline easily. But the moment you collect the data, you begin to see that the data is not easily analyzed. You have to do a lot of cleaning, transformation, in order for you to be able to have a clean data that you can model. So that phase could take you up to days, sometimes even up to a week, depend on how large the data set is. So every data scientist will be happy if he have that dashboard that he doesn't have to do these iterations. He just give it and say, give me the clean, and then it does it for him, which is what the AI is now doing. Because now we have things like Claude that you can easily just give it, but again, because of privacy ethical concern, you don't go about sharing data to some of these chatbot, but you can easily tell it, you can write a script in your own local PC that you can be able to do these things. So the coming of this AI made these things easy because now you can automate that pass, and that will be taken care of easily for you, and you can move to the next stage. So you need to define the task. Maybe for a clinician, it won't be the same. Maybe for a clinician, they have to go through that rigor of trying to understand what the patient is feeling and all that. So they need to take note and all that. So maybe the clinician will be happy if there is an AI app that the patient just talks to it and then it summarizes everything the patient said, and the clinician can know the next line of action. Maybe for a market woman, the one of the pain she's facing is the fact that she needs to get buyers to come and buy her goods. Then you can be able to create an app that could maybe link me or something that could link people to come and patronize that person. So you need to know the task that you want to automate. You have to know it. You have to know it. There is a famous saying by Socrates that said, know thyself, old man, know thyself. You have to know what problem you want to solve. So you don't just go about, um, not addressing the issue. Then constraints. What must it avoid or optimize for? So like I said, again, you are not trying to understand the whole system. Sometimes you just pick parts from the system, automate it, and then you'll be able to know that problem is solved. So those ones that you don't want it to get this bottleneck, you just tell the model that, okay, I don't want you to do this, I don't want you to do this, just do this part for me. So you have to make sure you introduce the constraint, that part that you just want it to take care of. Output contract. What form must the answer take? So again, you must have an output in mind. So when you see it, you know that, okay, this is what exactly you want. Now, one of the things that will help you going forward is try to think in visuals. Like I was saying to someone that for me, I try to think things in visuals. So sometimes when I'm reading, I try to make a picture of that in my head. So that way I could be able to remember these things easily. So if you see me reading the scripture, for example, maybe I'm reading about Jonah, which I did last year. I try to fit in myself in that scenario, the ship, the storm, how Jonah was thrown into the sea and how the big fish came and swallowed him and all that. So I tried to imagine it in my eyes, and my thoughts, sorry. And that gives me more understanding of that context. And the same thing when I'm reading my normal papers or something. I try to imagine that. And also with the coming of AI has made it super easy because now if I just imagine something, I could tell AI to even refine the prompts for me and then create the image of that thing for me to see it. Because the what you see, you can be able to achieve. So it's just for you to try to, see this and then you know that this is actually the output you want. So we will design prompts layer by layer. So there is a very important thing I came across recently called the hierarchy in prompting. First, I said have a goal. Have a clear goal that you want. So you tell the AI, I want to achieve this. My goal, my aim is to do this. So have a goal. It's very funny that a lot of people in life do not have a goal. The other day, I was having this discussion with my spouse, and I asked her. I said, if somebody comes and meets her and tell her and said, "Who are you?" The first thing the person will say is his name. I am this person. But I told her, I said, that's wrong. Your when somebody meets you and said, "Who are you?" If somebody meets me and said, "Who are you, Tony?" I'm not just supposed to start telling the person my name. Rather, I introduce myself as a problem solver. So that makes you need to fuse your life goal into your identity. You need to fuse it. Now, if there is anything I said to you today, make sure this sink into you. You need to come to a point where you completely immerse yourself with what you are doing. So you don't have a separate identity. It's very funny how many people didn't realize this. So when you meet somebody and you said, "Who are you?" the person will tell you, "I am this, I'm from this place." And no, that's wrong. The first thing the person tells you, "Who are you?" If somebody comes and tells me, "Who are you?" the next thing I'm going to tell the person, I am this kind, I am a researcher that focuses in utilizing AI to solve complex problems in biomedical and medical context. I am Anthony Onoja. Do you know anybody that listens to you would remember that part? Because you're not coming to tell the person, "I am Anthony Onoja, I'm this." No, that's my name. But if I tell you my purpose, my life goal, what I'm doing, it will stick to you with you. You will remember that more than. So if you have not known that, please know that today. So when anybody meets you, even if you walked into an interview and somebody tell you, "Can we meet you?" don't go and start, "My name is this." No. Other person, I am a data scientist that specializes in utilizing complex AI approaches in solving problems that involve what you consulted me for. My name is. Does it make sense? Does it make sense? Now, so in the case of prompting, have a clear goal. Have a clear goal of what you want to do. Okay? Have a clear goal. The next thing is brainstorm the idea. You can even use the AI to brainstorm your idea because there are times that you have the idea in crude form most of the time. So what you need is to pick up the advantage of the AI to synthesize this idea to a refined form. And then you can now take it and be able to do the next line of action. So brainstorm your idea. And again, like I said, most of the time we want to solve a problem that we only have half of the truth. We don't know most of the truth. Sometimes if you don't really check if there is a need for that particular thing, you won't see the market for it. That's why you need to, whenever you already see a problem, try to now start reaching out to see if there is a need for it. Begin to write to people, take advantage of LinkedIn and some of these social media platforms. Write to people and say, I am this, I does this kind of a thing, and I noticed that this kind of a problem exists. I don't know if you are currently having this kind of issue, if I can come in to help you to solve that problem. You know, so the moment you do that, the person will know that, oh, somebody is sorry, I think somebody wants to join. 1 minute. you, you know so make sure you check if the need for that particular product exists, so that way you can be able to you know start building the product. So don't just go start building the product. First, make your diligent check, do your research, write to people, on all these platforms, write to people on LinkedIn. You can, let's say you are thinking of building an app for finance. The first thing you need to do, write out your idea, check literature, make sure you do that diligent check so you don't reinvent the wheel. Because there is high tendency that whatsoever you are thinking, somebody has already done it. So instead of you to reinvent it, see what is out there, then you now be able to look at what these things are not doing and then how you can do it. Okay? And maybe by the end of this class, I'm going to show you um, a clinical tool that I was building in one of the paper I'm writing. Now, I discovered, looking at what was out there, that they were not handling that part that has to do with auditability, transparency, and some sort of accountability by bringing in that human in the loop into it, which was what I wanted to do. So when I looked at the closest one out there, I saw what they did. I saw they didn't actually tackle that area. Then I was like, okay, I don't need to reinvent the wheel. I just need to build on what they have done. Because you see, knowledge is a continuous spectrum. Wherever you find yourself, you just try to contribute to that branch. You're not trying to erase everything that have been done, but rather you just building upon what have already been achieved, so that we could have this continuous learning, and we can be able to, each generation can transfer or handle the baton so another generation that is coming. So reaching out to the people that could need your product would help you to be able to get more robust idea. So at the end of the day, when you build the MVP, you will likely see that you'll be able to get it out into production. So context provision. So now this is where by the time you have all this idea, you will now start shaping it in such a way that you can be able to effectively give it to the AI in order for it to deliver the product exactly like what you have in mind. So you need to know that it is by putting all these pieces together. Probably you did not factor what's going to happen if there is maybe a power cut, if there is an internet issue, maybe the product needs to be offline because of maybe somebody that is in the rural setting, maybe the product needs to be sold at this certain amount. So you need to factor all these things. Do not leave life to chance. Do not leave even your own ideas to chance. I keep saying this because most times we allow these things to move on its own. We said it will take care of itself. No, we have to be involved from the batting of the idea until where the idea is being incubated. Make sure you are involved at this stage and do the best you can by not leaving things to chance. Okay? Action specifications. You have to take action, but the moment you have already put in all those things, you have to start taking the action to build. It's just like when you're building a house, you have to get acquired, make sure you take all the steps to get all the documents you need, the C of O and everything. Once you get all these things on ground, the next phase is you now bring in somebody to survey, and then you now start the building from the foundation. They have to dig, they have to do this, they have to do all those things. You have to keep moving from one stage to the other. The same way it is when you are trying to build an idea, when you are trying to build an MVP, you have to take actions, to make sure you bring it to life. Then the output formatting, which is at the peak of the pyramid. Like I said, you must have the output in mind. So when you see it, you will know it. Don't just set out to solve something you cannot be able to see when you achieve it. Make sure that if you're designing a product for, let's say, finance, maybe your end game is the app. Have that picture of the app in your mind. So when you build it, you'll be able to say, okay, this is what you want. Okay, so take note of this. Now, same way we have smart in area of economics. We always talk about smart. Everything people will tell you, make sure it's obey that principle. The same way you also bring it even in context engineering when you are prompting. So the whole idea is not to smart is not a project management trick here. It is a prompt quality filter. So in the case of prompts, we want to make sure we removed every sort of complexity and vagueness that will make the prompts to hallucinate, because we really don't want to hallucinate. And one of the problem about this hallucination thing is that the model will confidently give you the response in such a way, if you are not careful, you would think that you are right. But then you will get to realize later that you were wrong. So you have to make sure anything that will make that noise to come in and make you not to get what you want, you have to remove it, yourself. So you have to be very, very careful about using anyhowness. So that smart is very important for us. So if we are looking at what this smart means in terms of prompting, the specific, that's S, connotes specific. It means that you pick one task, one scope, no blended objectives. Like I said, you are not trying to automate the whole system. Pick a system. So let's say if I'm looking at a problem in health, I will zoom into a specific area of health, maybe clinicians, and then I will look at what is it that is quite a pain to clinicians that, and then I won't even try to do the whole of that hospital. Probably I'll just pick a section, maybe orthopedic, or I'll just pick maybe the outpatient ward or something. Just pick a very one particular niche, then try to automate. Because if you do that, you can scale, to other sectors. So be very specific, and then measurable. That's what the M means. The output can be judged without debate. It's either it passes the criteria or it fails. So again, remember, you are not building these things for yourself. You are building it for someone or for the public. So you have to put in that consideration. One of the things I've seen, even in writing paper and projects in academics, most of the time you see somebody is writing as if he's the only person that is going to read it, forgetting that you are writing to the audience. That's in fact one of the main things you have to know when you begin to write your thesis or you're writing for a paper. You have to know that you are not writing for yourself. So the fact that you know what something means, another person don't know it. So you don't have to assume everybody that will read your paper will know it. And especially if you want non-technical audience to read your paper, then you have to make sure you use very simple language. You have to make sure that you are very clear and very explanatory to some certain extent so that anybody can pick your paper, the person will read it and understand what you're trying to contribute towards. So make sure when you're building your MVP that is it measurable? Is it something that someone can look at it and say, truly, this actually solved the problem? Okay, then achievable. You have to make sure that within the model capability, you don't have to even do any sort of fine tuning. You just have to use what we already have out there, especially the open source LLMs. They can be fine. You can use them to build your MVPs. no hidden world knowledge assumptions. Again, like I said, do not make assumptions. Don't think that because you have an MVP, that qualifies you to get investors to put into your business. You have to do the diligence checks. Again, it comes back to what I keep saying. Do not make assumptions. A particular pastor once said, assumption is the lowest form of knowledge. And it's true. Don't make assumptions. Make sure you don't leave things to chance. Do your diligent check. Go out there to see if the need exists and then how you can be able to take care of it. Don't just assume that if you do this, things. No. Make sure there is a need for it. Relevant. Does it directly support the user's decision or action? Not interesting, but useful. Of course, there are things that you will see that they are not interesting things, but actually it's useful to you. So the thing is, I remember as an undergraduate student, when I was writing my undergraduate project, I wanted to do something that has a real life application. So I thought about which area I wanted to do. So I came up with stochastic process. And on the stochastic process, I thought of queuing. And of course, many statistics students do their project in queuing. But for me, I wanted to do something that I could relate with. So I focused in hospital setting. I focused on pregnant women. So I remember I went to the Jos University Teaching Hospital, Jude, to go and meet, to see how I could get the data, of those, how long does the pregnant women spend to see, how do we call the people that attend to them again, not just doctors. I think they're midwives or something. I can't remember again. But I need to interact with both the people that attend to them and also them themselves. So of course, I have to go through the rigor of taking care of the ethical side of it and all that. But what that shows me was the reality on ground was completely different to what I was actually thinking while I was working on the project, because I started developing my model and all that before I started thinking of the data collection. So, but again, so that get me to realize that before you do project, make sure that it is actually something that is really, really, really important. And that's why a lot of projects in Africa, you see that it end up in the shelves because people don't put it into use because it's not something that really is important. Students are just doing some of these things to fulfill all righteousness. But the moment you start making them to do what is important, they could easily reuse it. They could easily use it to influence policies and even decisions at the end of the day. So make sure whatever you're doing, it's relevant, okay? Testable. These things has to be, you have to compare it with other standards out there. You have to benchmark it, in other words, because most of the time, you can think that you have the best product until now when maybe you see other this thing, and then when you put it into use on ground, I don't know if you have come across this, but you will get to see that most machine learning models fail when we deploy them in the field. They do very well when we are doing internal checks, but the moment we deploy them in the field, most of them fails. And the reason is because there is a distribution shift sometimes, and also most of the time the distribution shift is what affects it. And then again, maybe we failed to put in some checks. Maybe we need to bundle it in such a way that we need to handle some of the data transformation processes, and we didn't do them when we deploy them. The moment you do that, you begin to see the model fails. And if there is a distribution shift, which most of the time there is, you also see that the performance will drop. So all these things, we have to be very, very logical when we are doing those things. So we compare and contrast and look at some of the risks that could come up when you deploy this model. Because you see, you have to take full responsibility if those things are failing. So it's not just to, I don't know if you followed a news some time back on social media with B Lord. There's this guy in the cryptocurrency that develop apps or something that help people with payments and all that. But he later discovered his app was having some sort of, there is this lack of transparency that came up also, and he was facing a lot of charges and have to face a lot of issues with the EFCC guys and all that. Now, these things can be handled if maybe he look at what is out there and try to look at some of the risks that could come up and then find a way to mitigate it. So most of the time you can bring in that product and you'll be cashing out, but later on issues could come up that you will have to spend on legal cases. So before you deploy that app or deploy the MVPs, make sure you put in all these constraints and all these things into place before you start. So what are some of the common failures that we see in startups and even for academia when you are writing papers? The vague rules. Most of the time you see people giving the AI prompts, you are a helpful assistant. Helpful assistant in what? You don't give it these vague rules to assume and think that you will get this consistent result. The AI is not human. Yes, it has been trained with a lot of information. It has a lot of information on it that almost all the internet, to a large extent. However, the fact that the AI have been trained with such a large data, there are some minute things that the AI could omit if you don't put them into consideration. So because you don't want to leave things to chance, like I said, you have to make sure you lock down these places so the AI will have to think in a very specific way. Then tasks without boundaries. Sometimes we make the AI to do so much. And these days, if you've used the latest model or versions of ChatGPT, you will see that the moment you give it one information, it will tell you, I can also do this. It gives you the next suggestions. Now, if you don't have a particular bound where you should stop, the AI will continue to push it because the AI wants to understand you. So he will be giving you some of these suggestions. And again, I want you to also understand that these current AIs we have, the more as you chat with it, the better it becomes. So most of the time, the AI wants to get more from you. So it will be able to prompt, understand things better. So you have to have a particular constraint or bound where if you have achieved it, you have achieved it. No matter what the AI said or try to push you, you say, no, stop. I've already gotten what I want. A good example, some months back, someone met me and told me, look, he wants to invest, he wants the AI to act as his ISA investor. He wants the AI to come up with different low risk sort of investment that he could put within the period of 6 years, 6 to 10 years. So he met me as someone who had been working with AI, of course, to hear my suggestions. So I now told him, I said, okay, what's the issue he's facing? So he was like, he uses both ChatGPT, Google Germain, Perplexity, DeepSeek. So it means he have 4 AI chatbots. So he was like, if he puts the same charts to them, they give him different results. And because of that, he kind of got confused. He doesn't know which one to follow. So I told him, I said, okay, what we are going to do is, yes, first we will give the AI, the different chatbots, the same prompt. Secondly, we would adopt a consensus approach where we will vote. So by the time we vote, if we have 3 over 4, then we will go with the 3 the options that have the majority. So sort of democratization of the chat. So in which we vote and then we see the majority carries the vote. So that solved the problem he had. But then another problem comes whenever he picks the best option that he got from the majority vote, the AI will now start giving him other further suggestions. So that suggestions keep making him to be trapped in this endless loop where he was kind of becoming to get this what we call AI psychosis or something. So when he met me again and told me that solves the problem, but now he's having this issue that it keeps giving him auto suggestions that look so good, and then he keep getting back and forth and end up not really doing what he's supposed to do. So I told him, I said, okay, now what do you have in mind that you want to achieve? You need to write out what you want to achieve. So by the time the AI achieves it, you don't need to go back and be doing all the suggestions the AI tells you to do. So the moment you achieve it, you know it, and then you stop. Okay, so that now solves the problem. And I don't know if another one will evolve in the future, but this is how you interact with it. You have to be very, very careful so you don't get trapped endlessly in the loop. No grounded data or example. You see, sometimes, most of the time, the AI enjoys when you already have a ground truth data and gives it to him. Once you do that, you will see the AI will be able to work with the example you give it. For me, that I already understand how this AI works from my interaction with all these traditional AI models. I usually, when I'm chatting with this AI, I gives it a prior information. So it could work on that and then it's built on what I want it to do for me. So make sure you do have some example that in the case of this kind of MVP, at least if you go to the field and do some prior research, know who your users are, what their expectations and all that. When you come back and interact with the AI, you will see you will get more clearer thing that it wants to achieve. No way to uh, no way to judge output quality. Again, if you don't have um, other benchmark out there, you can't be able to know if what you are doing makes sense. So you have to look at what we have out there. How are those products doing? And then from there, you can see how you can build upon. Okay. So this is one of the things we have, even in academics. Sometimes you will see you're writing a paper, but you have not really done literature review to understand what's out there. But that literature review you do can really help you to be able to write something very robust